Hello you fine folk, and welcome to another episode of Spurt Weekly. Coming up, we've got a big fat Samsung roundup. There's absolutely zero shock as MWC 2020 is put down like a mangy mutt, and against all advice, we'll take a look at last week's viewer comments. And also this week, hilarious continuity errors abound, as I actually shot some of the show before MWC was shit-canned and some of it immediately after. See if you can spot the joins. I bet you can't. So grab a hold of your gear stick and crank it right into first. Roll jingle. Spurt Weekly. I know I didn't get a chance to change it yet, but this past week I barely even had time to go to the toilet for a piss, let alone sort my life out, so yeah. Now, of course, MWC 2020 was supposed to be kicking off in just over a week until that pesky coronavirus made it only slightly more popular than a James Corden comedy special. Now, when last week's show went live, big boys like LG and ZTE had already pulled out prematurely, fnarr, and they were of course swiftly followed this week by the likes of Amazon, Nvidia, Nokia, Sony Mobile. It got to the point where opening up Twitter was basically a game of which massive conglomerate has said fuck that shit and just yanked it completely. Now, most of these manufacturers will still be going ahead with their launches. They're just going to be postponed, put off to a different time, and dates the likes of Nokia and Motorola, for instance, they will come probably more likely sort of early to mid-March. Sony Mobile is still pressing ahead with its launch, but it's going to be online only on the Xperia YouTube channel. And of course, you can check out all the hands-on goodness right here on TechSpurt. So while a couple of manufacturers like Xiaomi and Huawei might still be going ahead with their launches, chances are I'm not going to be attending Boston. Unfortunately, I'm going to be sat here probably right on this very couch in my pants drinking whiskey sours, and frankly, I can live with that. But enough of that guff. Of course, all the big tech news this week was focused on Samsung thanks to its mighty Galaxy Unpacked launch event. And unless you've been sat in a bog for the last few days with your fingers in your ears singing a happy little tune, you'll know that they launched their new Galaxy S series flagship smartphones, as well as the Z Flip and a few other little bits. I won't bang on about all of this shiny new tech again right here because I've already done in-depth hands-on reviews of all of that lovely gadgetry, so go check that out here on TechSpurt for all you need to know. And now it's time for the part of the show that frankly should be quarantined for 2 full weeks. It's the viewer comments. Viewer comments. So let's see what delightful little morsels await. First up, can we expect OnePlus to launch their 8 and their 8 Pro at MWC 2020? Well, that's basically not going to happen. OnePlus hasn't planned any kind of launch event at MWC 2020, and even if they had, they probably would have pulled out by now, just like every other bugger going. OnePlus's only involvement at MWC usually is limited to having a massive party one of the evenings, getting us all absolutely smashed so we feel like death the next day. But yeah, this year they'll probably just avoid the whole thing like the plague, which is probably quite an apt choice of words. There's been lots more talk in the comments about the joys of Mr. Coronavirus. Hand sanitizer will 100% be done. Hazmat sound also sounds like a really good idea, although I'm not sure if I can chalk that up to a business expense. Andrew says, new weekly update, so I promise not to mention your eyebrows. Deal. Good. I'm really glad to see the eyebrow commentary has carried over from Quickies. You know what? It's fine, mate. I'm over the eyebrow stuff. It's jizz off a duck's back. I've learned to love my fuzzy face caterpillars, so bring it on. GD says, are you still in denial about being a YouTuber? Video journalist, my friend. Video journalist. So yeah, basically. Android Man says, hey man, would you recommend the Sony Xperia 10 Plus as daily? I'm looking for a new phone. Xperia 10 Plus, I did go back to it briefly at the end of last year, and unfortunately the performance seemed a lot more jittery than it did when I originally reviewed it almost a year ago now. So I don't know if some sort of update has balked it or what is going on there. Bit of a shame. But Sony is expected to launch fresh new Xperia smartphones, potentially some mid-rangers at MWC 2020, or rather not at MWC 2020 anymore, but in a week's time. So maybe stay tuned for that. Weirdly, there was universal love for the temporary jingle, which goes to show that basically half-assing your way through life is a good way of doing it. Definitely a lesson for life there. Not so much love for the thumbnail though. 3mar00ss says, you need to fix that thumbnail, it's not attractive at all, and then some sort of crying face thing. I was kind of going for that American style news promo effort, you know, me looking dead contemplative and serious and stuff. It was basically a toss-up between either that or this, and frankly I thought that this might get me banned from YouTube for life. But you guys are smart, so give me any suggestions. What do you reckon? Do you not like that thumbnail at all? Have you got any alternative ideas? Be great to hear your thoughts. Bang them in the comments and I'll cover them next week. Akimedia says, nice, looking forward to your next spurt. Appreciated, weekly occurrence, my friend. A couple of peeps have been asking me which phone has been my favourite ever since I started reviewing the wee buggers. That's actually really tough. I started reviewing mobile tech just over a decade ago, so I've seen a lot of smartphones, probably review 20, 30, 40 smartphones a year. So way back in the day, I really liked the Sony Walkman feature phones which came out, and I loved a lot of the Xperia flagships since as well, especially the compacts, of course, great devices. HTC classics like the Desire and the Magic, of course, and of course good old Motorola, the Razr, which has just been revamped, though apparently that revamp a little bit iffy in a few areas there. And the Razr I as well, I really hope they actually redo that one, because that thing was an absolute beast. It was invulnerable. You could do whatever you wanted to that smartphone and it would come back kicking, no worries. Next up, Jason says, saw a review of the Samsung Galaxy S10 Lite. Any chance you'll be able to get your dainty little hands on one for a real review? Dainty? Dainty, these are man's hands, my friends. The things these hands have seen, or would have seen if there were eyes instead of hands, obviously. Now, frankly, the S10 Lite is just absolutely baffling to me, and we've already had the Galaxy S10e. Surely that was the S10 Lite, and the S10 Lite is 6.7 inches, so it's bigger than the S10 Plus, but it's also got more basic specs like the Full HD screen and stuff. Frankly, I don't know why it exists in a world with Galaxy A series smartphones, which already fill that sort of mid-range hole anyway, so yeah. But I have requested a sample, so potentially get my dainty hands on it very shortly. Unfortunately, that's all the time I've got to go through comments now. Really sorry if I didn't get to yours, because there were lots of great ones in there, but please do bung your thoughts down below and I'll cover as much of that as possible next week. So next week on Tech Spurt Weekly, get the name if you're unsure, right, you dickheads. I was hoping, of course, to do a massive MWC 2020 roundup. That's not gonna happen anymore. What I'm hoping to do instead is basically clue you guys in with what each individual manufacturer is going to be doing instead, so when their launches will be coming. And as I say, don't forget to check back here first thing Monday morning, where Sony Mobile will be launching all of its shiny new tech, and I will have some hands-on action for you fine folk. And don't forget to slap some comments down below. Have yourselves a lovely weekend, people, and as always, love you.